Good afternoon and welcome to the Policy Committee meeting on February 6th. All members are here. I call the meeting to order. I need an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0, thank you. Next, I need the approval of the November 21st open session minutes. All in favor? Aye. 4-0. Next up is policy for second review. Mrs. Morris.
Yes, good afternoon, members of the board. The first policy for second review is policy 1-12, public participation at board meetings. This policy was reviewed by the committee in November and the board in December. There's been no stakeholder input since that time, and staff requests that this policy go for approval at the meeting tonight. And just to remind you, this is revisions to public comments.
Okay. Any questions? Next.
Okay, the next policy is 2-05, gifts and bequests. This one also was reviewed in November by the committee and by the board in December. There's been no stakeholder input, and staff requests that this policy go for approval tonight.
Any questions? Nope. Okay. We can make a motion for all of them at the end. That's good. Okay, next.
Okay, the next policy is 3-02E, licensure. This policy was also reviewed by the committee in November and by the board in December. There's been no stakeholder input since that time, and staff would request that this policy go for approval at tonight's meeting.
Great. Any questions? Nope. Next.
Policy 3-03, recruitment and selection of personnel. This policy also was reviewed by the committee in November and the board in December, and there's been no stakeholder input since that time, and staff would request that this policy go for approval at tonight's meeting.
Okay. Any questions?
No.
Nope. Okay. Last one.
The last one for second review is policy 3-06, staff student relations. This policy was reviewed by the committee in November and the board in December. There's been no stakeholder input, and staff would ask that this get approved at tonight's meeting.
Great. So
Make a motion needs to be all
policy 1, 2.
policies be approved, be submitted to the next.
Second review. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the motions for approval at tonight's meeting,
Yeah.
Mr. Sides and Reverend Bench. Okay. The next part is policies for first review. The first one that we have is an administrative guidelines, and that is to policy 3-18, and the administrative guidelines are teleworking. And the revisions to this administrative guidelines are for clarification purposes, and staff would ask that this go for review at the meeting tonight.
Does this take care of teleworking for teachers that have work days?
Yes. What we have done this school year, and that is that any optional teacher workday,
Optional.
staff have the option to work from home. And we have, if you remember, as part of the new calendar, we've designated that
Okay.
and provided for other days that are PD days, designated PD days. Yep.
So a principal can say that they can't telework.
Not on those optional teacher work days.
Not on the ones that we've designated as optional teacher workdays.
Okay. Okay. That's all my questions. Anybody else?
Was there any other bugaboos in this that you want us to take note of?
No, I mean, this is really just, asking that employees track their hours and that if their duties require them to be in the office, that they be in the office, just to address some concerns that have arisen.
Thank you.
I assume we have an electronic version of the timesheet that they access.
There's no specific timesheet required, it's just that they're supposed to keep track of their time. We don't have a specific form.
It just, okay. It
Yeah.
just says they should maintain the timesheet.
Right.
Basically, however they want to do it.
However, whatever their
Okay.
supervisor. And, yeah. Yeah, make sure you press your
Put
button.
your phone in. Yep. Your phone. Sorry. Your mic. Okay. Next. Okay. Any other questions for teleworking? Nothing. Okay. Next.
Okay, and I'm going to address 3-07A and 4-07A together because they are exactly the same. Sexual harassment students and sexual harassment employees. And I see that there's a typo that I will fix on the employees one. And these are, for clarification purposes,
Mhm.
the revisions and based on some clarification that came in the law. And so we are asking that this go for review at the meeting this evening.
Any questions? This is both for students and employees.
Yes, and I'm going to make a correction. I notice on 3-07A, it says sexual harassment students. It should say employees, and I will fix that.
Okay. Anything else? Board?
When I saw these come up, I'm always concerned that they're nailing it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Uh-huh.
She's so helpful. I'm always concerned that we're nailing it. Do we have this thing buttoned down so that whatever situation arises, we have covered it to the point where we're covered?
We do the best we can to think of all possible situations, which is why sometimes like this, we need to make revisions when things come to our attention or changes occur.
Right.
And so we
This
hope
was-
so, cross our fingers, but
This was last revised on the 22. So, yeah. And sometimes law comes in, new laws and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yes,
and
as well. That's a good. question.
sometimes
Thank you.
employees and students think of things that we wouldn't, and so then we have to address it when it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's just my concern because so many times these things are so delicate, and then the first thing that legal looks at, when I say legal, someone bringing forth legal action,
Mhm.
is do we have a policy locked in that we cover ourselves?
Yep, and this policy is generated both from the North Carolina School Boards Association and Campbell Shatley revisions, so we've consulted with lots of folks in developing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next is 4-1, attendance. I'm so happy about this one.
Yes.
And I'm happy for the high schools.
Yeah,
Because it's hard. And this is about the exemption, the exam exemption, that if you have a 90 or above and you've only missed school for twice or an 80 or above, and it was one unexcused absence, and now we're getting rid of that. If you got a 9 and above, you don't have to take an exam or the teacher written exam. And if you have an 80 above and you want the B, you can do that. But we're not doing the excused, unexcused. Where were you? And because it's hard. I like it.
yeah, this one comes at the recommendation of staff. It's really hard to
Yes.
necessarily track those, and in order to get an exemption, kids are coming to school sick and all sorts of things. So this
You're making it
way,
great.
yeah,
Yes.
this
If you
way,
got the grade, it doesn't matter if you weren't at school for a couple days, right? So it should be fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
Now, this doesn't apply to.
Just teacher
certain
made-
Required,
it's just teacher-made exams.
That's what I said.
yeah,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
required
State
exams,
stuff.
obviously, we can't.
Yes.
right.
Right. Yep. Okay. Any other questions about that one? That's
No.
a change to it.
Okay, the next policy for review is, let's see. It's Administrative Guidelines 4-01, the online instruction administrative guidelines, which go with the last policy. And the revisions are recommended by staff because they were implemented by the district to address COVID closures, which obviously aren't in place anymore.
Yep.
So we're recommending the removal of those provisions.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right,
Okay.
the next policy for first review is 4-04, investigations by school personnel / searches. And the changes in this policy are those that are required to address statutory changes
Mhm.
made as part of the appropriations bill. And staff would ask that this go for first review this evening.
Any questions?
Does this apply to the SROs as well? Are they considered employees, or are they considered under the sheriff's department and they have their own set of rules?
They have their own set of rules.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, and the last for first review is 5-08 parent involvement. And the recommendation is to delete this because in November, you all passed a new policy. And I apologize, it should have been deleted at the same time. But so the recommendation is that this go for review tonight's meeting as well.
Okay.
Make a
Oops. I'll make a motion.
Yeah, for
that-
first
Yeah, that
review. Policy,
all 7 policies be referred positively to tonight's board meeting with the recommendation for approval.
Second.
do you want us to list the policies?
No, just you can just say the policies that are for first review, go for
Okay,
first review.
that would be great. Okay. Sorry.
All the policies that are up for first review be recommended for approval by the full board at tonight's meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0. Our next meeting is February 20th, 8 a.m., virtual Zoom. And I need a motion for adjourn, to adjourn.
So move.
Second? All in favor? Wait, okay,
No, get my committees.
okay. Okay, we're out. Thank you. 4-0.